Okay, Jai Sachidanand. Guys, can you do three mantra? Mic, can you follow, please?
Namo Vitragai.
Namo Vitragai.
Namo Arihantanam.
Namo Arihantanam.
Namo Siddhanam.
Namo Siddhanam.
Namo Ayariyanam.
Namo Ayariyanam.
Namo Vajjayanam.
Namo Vajjayanam.
Namo Loe Savasahunam.
Namo Loe Sava Sahunam.
Eso Panchanamukaro.
Eso Panchanamukkaro.
Savapavapranasano.
Savvapa Vappanashano.
Mangalanam cha Savvesi.
Mangalanam cha Sauvesim.
Padamam Havai Mangalam.
Padamam Havai Mangalam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Jai Satchidanand.
Jai Satchidanand.
Jai Sachidanand. Mick, you have any question?
I have one.
Go ahead.
So, yeah, so my question is like, whenever I'm reading something or listening to satsang, right? So, you know, the thinking that goes on after that, is that my mind thinking or is that myself actually thinking?
Who do you call as yourself?
Well, I haven't taken Gyan yet, so...
What is your understanding of self?
Pure soul.
Okay, fine. Now, it's a wonderful question. It is like within ourselves, we have different functionality. To what we refer as self, as pure soul, then the function or the activity what it performs by its very nature, it is knowledge light. Like it is a bundle of knowledge. Like how you have matter, in the same way it is one of the eternal, matter is eternal. That way soul is also eternal and its primary quality is knowledge. So any situation you come across, you may read, you may do something, then what goes around within you, there are different faculties which has specific function. Like body, it has action, movement, physical movement. Then speech function has to speak, all vocal function, which is outside, and inside also it keeps going on. But still it is an activity that begins and that ends. Same way thinking, what we call as a thought process, that is function of our mind. Then we have another faculty, it is called reflective consciousness, or we call it chit. Immediately, if I say push, then your ear receives this sound and your mind get initiated, you start thinking, saying that, oh, he's talking about my brother. And then you get a realistic picture about your brother also in your mind. That realistic picture is of I mean, that function is of the reflective consciousness. It gives you the pictorial information of your brother. And the thought initiation is through the senses. Our mind gets initiated by the information what we receive from our 5 senses. You see something, you start getting thought. You see a dog, you see an elephant, you see a horse, something like that. You see a mango tree, like that. And you're already conditioned in the sense you have realized those things as this is elephant, this is donkey, this is a horse, this is pineapple. Correct?
Yeah.
So all this, if some new fruit is there, right, which you haven't seen any time, and someone brings in front of you, then you say, it looks like something,
Yeah.
but I'm not aware of it. I'm not sure. Something like that. You listen to someone, then if the voice resembles someone, then you may guess and say, oh, looks like this is this person, like.
Mhm.
Okay. So there is reflective consciousness, there is mind, and then intellect. Whatever situation you come across, it gives you what are the possibilities of its after effects. Like you're running, you're doing something, you're driving, then that way it tells you what would be the after effect, like where you're going, something like that. Good, bad. It shows you the results. It also makes decisions, and those decisions are based on your destiny. And what is the destiny? Through that happening, through that destined happening, you pass through happiness and sorrow in your life. Many a times you may think, why did I do this? Why did I decide to do this? Then at times, if someone else is involved in making that particular decision, then you may blame that person.
Yeah.
That, oh, because he or she told you to do, and that affected your decision, and you decided because of that person or that situation, and due to that, you had to pass through this suffering. But that suffering, both happiness and sorrow, both are suffering only. They come and go. So that is intellect. And ego, one is discharging ego. A discharging ego, what it means, the bodily ego, ego of meat. It does 2 things. It runs its body, all internal function. It also does outside functions, going, coming. It also tells other people to do certain things. Now, depending on that, your again destined suffering is connected. And that is why it is called egoism of suffering.
Mhm.
It finally ends up making you suffer, happiness or sorrow. And what you are living today is having your own egoism without self-realization. What ego anyone have is, it is almost like one with that inner egoism. That is egoism of doer, and egoism of suffering. But this egoism is, it finally ends up in as egoism of doership. It falsely claims the suffering that as I suffered, although that suffering is part of the body self, and because of that ignorance, falsely you say that I suffer. Actually, meat suffers. I suffer, and the outcome of that ignorant suffering is you end up blaming the person that because of this person I suffered. You falsely claim suffering of meat as your suffering. If it is happiness, then it is positive. Whoever was responsible for that happening or initiating that happening, making you decide certain thing and do, you will blame that person, that because of that person, so it's a positive thing. But if you suffer, that is if you pass through sorrowful suffering, then you blame the person because of that person you suffered. And you blame, you project doership. So this is what happens. When you have self-realization, then this I, which falsely claims suffering and keep projecting doership, what happens is you become knower of all this suffering. You become knower of all this suffering. So you get to know the body, self, activity of meat, speech function, thinking, reflective consciousness, intellect, the discharging ego of suffering. And this ego doesn't pop up anytime. Do you understand?
Yeah.
Because you get separated out. So it is like if Kush is there. His name is Kush or Kush?
Kush.
So if Kush is there and if he says, I'm doing, then you know his body is doing, he's talking, he says, I'm thinking, he says, I'm visualizing my school. He decides, oh, I didn't like this, I like this. Then you don't claim suffering because you know it is Kush suffering, he is suffering.
Yeah.
When it is related to meat, anything happening to meat, the separation is not there. Although you say my body, you say my speech, you say my mind, you say my intellect, you say my reflective consciousness, you say my ego, but the separation is not there. And when that self-realization is there, you identify yourself as pure soul, as I am. And with that knowledge of self, that is called Gyan, or knowledge of self, as I am, and I am pure soul. So we come across from our childhood, we are surrounded by people who are ignorant, who claim themselves as I am name, I am body, and so on. They are not self-realized. And due to that, we inadvertently and unknowingly, we catch all those beliefs and we live by that belief, so that ignorance. So if you come across an enlightened person, then spending time with him, living through his experience, you realize yourself. Like how you pass through, academic education, and you claim yourself an engineer, a doctor, an actuarian, a pharmacist, and so on, CPA, like that. So when you get to know who you are, then that self-knowledge, you identify yourself as, like how you say, I'm engineer, I'm pharmacist, you will say, I am pure soul. Right? So this is what? So it is not self. That self is like a mirror. Mirror, it illumines, it reflects things that comes in front of the mirror. Same way, our pure soul inside, that is our self, but that self is, you don't have that clarity. So at times you claim activity of meat, his bodily activity, sense activities. I see, I hear, I scented, I ate, I felt, I did. And also you will say, I know.
Yeah.
So now this knowing is also there. But that knowing is by virtue of that inner pure soul which is also there, due to which you have the power to know through your five senses.
Mm-hmm.
But that clarity is not there, that who is the knower. I know, and you say, I did, I do. Same way you project others also, like they do, he did, they did, like that. But when you realize yourself, then you know who is responsible for all the visible and invisible activities of things that matter around. Matter related with body is live matter. Otherwise, it is physical matter. Like matter related, in connection with living aspect, there is plants also, they're live matter. But that which is physical, it is inert. So that is not live matter. Correct?
Yeah.
So this is how it is. Also, we got a question like...
Okay, Mate, are you okay? You have more question? Mate? Mate?
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm okay now.
Okay. Okay, there's another question from Kanubai. Deepakanandji?
Yes, I got it. What he says, he's asking what is Gyan? So what is knowledge? What does taking of Gyan do? When can one take Gyan? One can take Gyan anytime. Where is he? Is he online?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He doesn't have camera. Kanubai?
It doesn't matter. It's okay. It's okay. I saw him. I saw him coming. So this is one. Knowing yourself who you are, not as body, not as name, is called Gyan or self-realization. Knowing yourself, also called Atma Gyan, self-realization, Brahma Gyan, spiritual knowledge. All these different terms which are very common in the world. But principally, you know your true self. You get to know your permanent identity, who you are, not your relative identity, which is changing. Your name remains, but like with your wife, you are husband. With your children, you are father. With your family, you are probably, with your parents, you are son. With your brothers, sisters, you are brother. If you're working, then you are an employee. If you are having a business, then you are an employer. So all these, and you also say, I'm a man, I'm a woman, I'm so and so, I'm engineer, I'm doctor, I'm Hindu, I'm Muslim, I'm Gujarati, I'm Indian, I'm American. All these are relative identities. But when you come to acquire this knowledge of self, who you are, that is your permanent identity. Because then you connect yourself with that permanent entity within you as soul, that I am pure soul. And that is only possible from a person who has known his self and lives with that experience of self. Others who are in quest of their self, searching, seeker, and they are doing certain things, then they will make you do those things, what that person is doing. But any activity in relation to body, any activity in relation to mind, any activity in relation to speech, mind, speech, body being temporary, and you are seeking soul or self-realization, then someone who has acquired, known and experienced itself, only that person can make you realize yourself. And you can only have that knowledge, that Gyan, from one who have it and has that ability to pass on that experience to you also. Otherwise, he can or she can share her experience of self-realization and motivate you to have that also. That you will also need, like when you see other doctors, actuaries, then you may say, or engineers or pharmacists, that, yeah, I want to become doctor, I meant to become engineer, something like that. Okay, Kanubhai?
Yeah, thank you. So
Does it
the other
explain
question
clearly?
was,
Yeah, go ahead.
sorry,
Yeah.
no, so the follow-up part to that was, so when you take that Gyan, what does it do? Do you feel different, or is the process?
When you see you're a married person,
Right,
correct? Before marriage, your experience was X. And after marriage, your experience was Y. Right?
right,
That experience. So in the same way, when this is like your marriage takes place with God. And that God is the soul within us, which is called Almighty, which is called omnipotent, omniscient, all-knowing. And when you get to know that as I am, then all bodily effects, they don't bother you, but you come to know. As if your Kanubhai becomes your neighbor. Like how Rajnibhai is your neighbor, so-called, living in the same community, Anand Vihar. But with this self-realization, you come to know everything that happens or everything what Kanubhai do. And who makes Kanubhai do, that also gets revealed to you. How Kanubhai is doing, how he passed through his life process from childhood to this point of your life. You come to know everything, and with that understanding, you know that it is effect of the past causes, which we call as karma. Karma means that doership which was projected, that make you pass through different situations in your life and make you suffer happiness and sorrow, both. And it remains for a while and then go away. Right? So this is, and what happens when you don't know yourself, then you, out of ignorance, you claim doership and you project doership. And in that process, you are causing new karma, new karmic activity, which will make you pass through that process of doing, or that process of happening, I will say. What you had projected will make you do those things. Many times you don't want to do certain things, but it just happens. You don't want to speak, it happens. You don't want to think, it happens. That shows that some other agency is controlling Kanubai, making him do, making him speak, making him think. So that is karma. And what remains to be, what you have to do rather, once you know yourself, then you become perceiver and knower of Kanubai. Whatever he passes through in his life process out of his karmic effects, without causing new karma. You only remain perceiver and knower of what Kanubai do and what happens to him. And in that whole process, you are not projecting, so eventually it ends up as your last life, in the sense you're not born, and when you're not born, you're not caused any new karma, then that becomes your last life, and that can only happen with a goal of freedom only. That's how you get freed and you get liberated. Otherwise, getting born itself is the biggest bondage. And when you realize yourself, then that bondage is broken forever. And what remains is whatever was charged previously, you have to pass through as life process of suffering, happiness or sorrow. Anything you do, the end result is happiness or sorrow only, nothing, no third thing is there. If any third thing is there, then you remain indifferent. Okay?
Yeah, thank you. Jai Sachidananda.
Jai Sachidananda.
Okay, Mr. Bhai.
Yes, Jai Sachidananda everyone. Jai Sachidananda, Deepakanandji, Jai Sachidananda. My question is regarding Bhav and Bhavna. Please explain the difference between Bhav and Bhavna.
If you are not realized, then that Bhav relates to Bhav karma. What Bhavna you say is they are your feelings. And the feelings eventually, because you are not knowing yourself, they end up having projection. In the sense, you are causing new karma. You call as your desire ichha, but that also ends up in a bhav, or that is bhav karma. Because no feeling goes without your involvement. I'm talking without gnana. But when you are realized, then what remains? What remains are only discharging effects, as you call them bhav, you call them bhavna, you call them ichha, they are just desires only.
It says effect of one's intent created in the past life.
This effect of?
One's intent created in
Yes.
past life.
Yes, not only last life, this life also. Because many things you come to know.
It is a discharge intent. So,
one is discharging, another is what you are feeling now.
So can we, is it physically perceivable, you know, how means what is the difference between the discharge intent and the charge intent, you know?
That's what any thought ends up in bhav and bhav karma. But when one is self-realized, with that separation, he doesn't involve with those thoughts, and that's why they just remain as discharging effect.
So this desire, it comes in the mind, or how it happens?
Yes, mind. Signed, endorsed thoughts.
So the charge thoughts and the charge intent and the discharge intent, can you please little bit give more details for how it is different?
Discharge is there when you are self-realized.
Is any example if it is
Anything, whatever Kashyapji does, is all discharge only. Whatever you feel, you see through your five senses, right?
Say
Outside and inside, every happening, the whole bundle of Kashyapji is discharge only.
the name holder has a thought of going to a, for example, having a certain dish, for example, having a chapati, okay. So
Whatever.
he wants to eat some chapati, for example, or some,
Right.
so say he wants to eat some banana, okay.
Right.
So that is the thought which is coming. So that is a desire, or what is the difference? This I didn't understand.
No. Initially, they are just thoughts. But when that thing is signed, endorsed,
yes,
then it ends up in a desire.
Okay.
You get thought to eat banana, you get thought to eat apple, but you say banana. So that is your desire now. Although you got thought about grapes, about apple, about banana, all different things.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. So then, as a person, name holder, I say yes. I want to eat banana. So that is the desire. That is the charge part.
Once again.
Once
again. Listen.
Yes.
Anything and everything what Kashyap do, it is discharge only.
Okay.
Whatever is charge part goes in the doership. And for the doership, you have to be I am Kashyap.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah. Okay. So with the projection, it is charge, and without the projection, everything is discharge.
Yes, and you cannot project. Okay. After self-realization, you cannot project. What remains is whatever you do in relation to five agnas, only that thing gets charged, because that projection is only on that level. Agna following only.
Okay, I got it. Thank you. Yes,
Jai Satchidanand.
Akshay Bhai.
Jai Satchidanand.
Jai Satchidanand.
The question is on determination. How is Akshay coming to a state of determination? I want to understand that sense.
Okay. Whatever experience you pass through in your life process, certain things you really suffer, in the sense that you really pass through, hard time. Then a conviction opens within you and you decide, never, I will never do this. That's how you come across decision or such determination to do certain things or not do certain things. Like we believe, we trust Dada Bhagwan, and whatever prayers we are doing in relation to, like, I don't want to hurt any living individual for my thought, speech and action. Right? So that is our determination. Except for pure soul experience, I don't want anything, any perishable thing, relative thing in the world. So that again relates to that only.
There's a background noise from Nishitana.
Okay.
So on that, you mentioned determination is based on the experience that Akshay is going through.
Yes, wow. And others, trust in others. Like when I share my experience, then it comes to your conscience. Yes, I want to do this same thing. That also comes. When you listen to others' experience, when you look at others, when they share their experience, when you see them doing certain things, like that.
So here I want to understand the science of what is happening when that information comes in.
Okay, first thing, you see, you listen.
Senses.
Basically 2 senses. Very important and powerful information you get through these 2 senses, right? And then you get those thoughts in that relation. And then actually on one side, these are discharging effects only, actually. But certain thing like a spontaneous, strong feeling, in the sense, whatever happens to me, when I have received such a self-realization, everyone should have this. So it is not out of doership. You have a very intense, strong feeling of sharing your experience to others. Then that can cause a new karma projection. But people just talk and they say they follow, then that's not going to remain forever. This thing is like it will remain in your mind forever. It never goes. Right? So it comes to your, through your senses you get, you understand, and you get convinced that yes, this is what I want. And that's how you decide that yes, I want to do this.
So
and once decided, it happens. And it is part of the process actually. Certain thing is part of the process, like the many things we have, taken so many things, extra things from outside, which is not necessary for our living or for our survival. So then when you come to know, then you say, this is also not needed, this is not needed, this is not needed. So that's how all your requirements reduce. All excessive requirements, excessive things what you have, they will drop. It is said that when finally the end game is like you want to purify your relative self, because real is pure forever, par excellent, purest pure. It never got tainted, or it never got spoiled, right? It was pure, it is pure, and it's going to remain pure. But what has happened to our relative self is you have a bunch of weaknesses, impurities, lapse, mistakes, due to which you have to pass through suffering. So that's what, when you see others not having those flaws, not having those mistakes, then you get inspired. Yes, I want to become like that. I must also get rid. And when you see such living example, then it is a great inspiration for you, because then a very firm and strong decision takes place.
So a question related to that. You mentioned seeing, listening through the senses, that thought is coming, and then within that thought I make a firm determination. So within that thought, if I sign, so that is coming as a determination. Now that seeing and listening, another aspect you mentioned, if I see someone live, so I'm talking with you live right now, why is it important to have a live? Because another aspect is also you can listen to...
You read, you think there are other people who talk, but you don't see a living example. Living example is the final inspiration for your determination.
And that's why my question, whatever I get information through my senses is going to initiate that thought, right?
Yes, it's going to initiate that thought, but just not thought. That determination will not come. hard-headed decision will never come. But when you see a living example, that's it, this is what I want, final, no second thought.
But that's why I want to understand what is the difference between that thought that comes through a live example.
Thought, they come and go.
Okay.
That registry is not there, then that decision also don't come up. That decision never comes up. But once you see that living example and that time, the timing, everything is really, coherent with that whole thing, and then that decision takes place. Decision gets made, I will say, and then it happens. Once made, then your direction changes. On the worldly side, that's how you decided to marry, and you, that's your commitment for the whole life.
True. So, a question on one thing when you were answering to Kashyap bhai, how like my child, right, came to life, and now she's going through information that is being passed on from everyone. Because I always wonder, a life comes in, how does that all information that's getting feeded in, why can't she have the right information from day one?
No, it's not like that. There are many things come, but whatever she has got with herself from the past, that will get accepted by her. Very common thing, like her background is vegetarian, and if she comes across any non-vegetarian food, maybe she will eat once or twice. But then that will not make her comfortable. She will say, no, there's something wrong. That natural reaction is always there. And if something is there and suitable for her, that is at par or with her karma, then there won't be any problem. It will get accepted. Otherwise, so many things come. For example, in my younger age, I came across my friend's father. There are other people who also come across so many people. But my friend was speaking bad words. But my friend's father, he had said once, it just so happened, I heard him saying that if you speak bad words, then your tongue gets bad. Just by speaking bad words, people are not going to change. So why do you spoil your tongue? Instead of fixing him up, beat him up and make him right, that he will not do anything wrong in front of you. He'll be afraid, he will fear not to do anything in front of you. That, hey, this guy is there, otherwise he'll beat me up. That's fine. Do you understand? So somehow I caught that, and I have seen him speaking bad words. So surprising. He lives with him like 24/7, and I just met him offhand, and I overheard him, not also that way, and I picked that, and that's how all my life I never said bad words. I said, no need.
So that information came.
But I beated people a lot. 1, 2, 3. But then afterwards I realized that was also wrong. So that also got changed then. So
the question is, that information came in, but there was already a karmic with you which got pop up due to that information.
Correct, that's what. So anything that it matches with what you have got, then natural, the inclination is there. Just imagine, I'm just giving an example, very, very practical example. You came across so many girls. Why? Krishna only. There's something. in common. Something was there. And that clicked. And that's how it happened. Correct? That's how everything happens.
I'm trying to understand. I had a thought on determination today, that how exactly that science is working. I understand to that aspect that it comes through senses, and then a thought comes up, and then you agree on to that thought. But then in that case, why is my determination not happening all the time? What is
Timing. The timing. You knew Krishna for a long time, but the timing came, and yes, this is final. And that happens. That opportune time naturally comes and things happen. That is connection with our life suffering.
right? Now taking in regards with determination for Panchagnya, right? I believe there is no connection to timing.
No, the timing is also there in a way. The more you get exposed to those things, then every time it is getting firmer and firmer. Yes, it's not the final thing, but it's a gradual process. That gradually you understand that it gets unfolded. The understanding gets unfolded and you, oh, this is what it means. Oh, this is what it means. This is what it means. Like that. For example, there are certain mistakes which are already committed, but they're not corrected. There are so many things which are mistakes, but it has not come to your realization also that that is also a mistake. So you continue doing it. But that some time will come and you'll say, oh, that is also a mistake. No, nothing doing. I cannot do this. Right? Then that will also stop. So we must keep ourselves ready for everything. And all these prayers what Dada has given us, they really guiding us in the direction of freedom only, liberation only. Although you are a householder, but look at your direction, your journey. It's not outward, it's inward. You can see that. You can, clearly experience also. Others are also householders. But then your commitment, your decision, your whole journey is, and you're contemplating that also day and night. This is what I want to do, this is what I want to do. Never this, never that, like that. And especially when we are in the company of Mahatmas, self-realized souls, then they all are moving in that direction only. And in fact, the whole group had been together from generations, but we don't remember those things because so many different relations we came across ourselves. But we were together. And this time again we are together. So that's how those like-minded people, they always sit together, move together, live together, and that's how their journey. Certain times you get distracted, you can say. Then you will go for a while and again come back. That due to that distraction, that continuity broke for a while. That it breaks for a while, and then you again join. Because that main thing is there, background. That goal of freedom, that goal of liberation is there. Strong, hard-headed decision, determination. That's what I want.
Now, a question related to how the Sansaran Marg works, how the whole so the question is, Atma, soul, when it comes into this birth and life cycle, why does it ever gets impure? Because
it never got impure.
sorry,
It never got impure. It is pure. It will remain pure. What happens is, like the whole Saran Marg is flow, is a natural flow from heavier karma to lighter karma. Heaviest is one sense lives, and lightest is liberated one. They have no body itself.
Why one sense? Why one sense is heavier?
One sense, there, although that all-knowing soul is there, but the karmic coverings are so dense and strong, only one sense is open, touch. You understand?
So when we understand, when we refer to Nigod, which is the
Nigod is a place, is like they are infinite in number, they are in such heavy karmic pressure, they are not even identified as lives. That means they don't have a name. But the moment one life gets liberated, one life from Nigod enters into this finite batch, I will say. One batch is Nigod, other batch is liberated souls, the middle batch, the middle bucket is finite, identified,
right,
who have a name.
So in Nigod, it is one sense?
One sense, but no name.
No name.
That is minimum. That is minimum. But the moment they get name, a level of evolution take place. And so all these things, when we read that higher state of absolute knowledge, it will be blatant in front of us what is what.
The whole process is taking us towards liberation.
Yes. Yes. It is the process, and that is what you call as Saran Marg, flow, natural flow.
Now
from Nigod to Siddha Kshetra.
I have one question I have been asking many times, even in the past.
No problem.
So if the flow is taking me to liberation, so if I am a fluid guy, flow of fluids is what we deal with. If the flow is happening, right, even then maybe my question is not good, but even what is happening with Akshay, meeting Dada Bhagwan, understanding this Gyan, making determination, isn't that in a flow too?
One thing, when you haven't realized yourself, then that journey is in the 4 life forms only. It is not toward liberation. It is toward liberation, yes, but that liberation process haven't begun, haven't started. So the journey is called Anadi Anant. Correct? Wonderful point. Anadi Anant. So that life will remain in that state of wandering. It was wandering, it will continue wandering for infinite time. Anadi Anant. Now, when one gets realized, self-realized, then a beginning starts, takes place. That is Sa Adi. And it ends in absolutism, that is called Shant, end. Our internal journey, inner journey, which has started now after self-realization. That is Sa Adi Shant, which has started and which will end in absolutism. That is absolute knowledge. That is Sadi Shant. And then once we get liberated, that is we go to Siddha Kshetra, that is Sa Adi Anant, Sadi Anant. So that is third phase. One is Anadi Anant, Sadi Shant, Anadi Anant. Sadi Anant. That journey that began and that will remain forever. Okay? So this is how it is. Wonderful. Nothing but net science only.
So the greatest thing is we met Dada Bhagwan, which is the greatest thing for us to come out of that.
Correct. And that has also not happened out of the blue. Dada had said that sometime, somewhere in the past, that connection had taken place, and that's how you determine that, yes, I want this only, nothing else. And that's how we came across Dada Bhagwan. What Srimad Rajchandraji has said, people have gone, their face is not even in this direction, it is in the opposite direction. It will take several lives for them, for their face to turn to this direction, in this direction. That is the situation of ignorance. They have, out of ignorance, what they have done, it is going to make them wander for a very long time. Because out of ignorance, people can do anything. It is not known. It is said an enlightened person cannot say anything about an ignorant person. But one who is self-realized, he knows that he cannot do anything. He will end up in moksha, no doubt. That is the power of self-realization. That is the divinity of the enlightened soul and the knowledge, the science, what he revealed. Jai Satchidananda.
Okay, we have 5 minutes, so we have last question from me.
Jai Satchidanand.
Jai Satchidanand.
So I wanted to talk more about the topic of determination. So I wanted to know, is it determined based on our destiny, or does determination have the power to change our current destiny?
See, destiny plays its part, but then destiny is an ongoing process. What it means, from your past, whatever projections were made, things happen today.
Yeah.
But now, while living your destiny now, you are projecting.
Yeah.
Because you are coming across things, you're also experiencing your life and life process, what suffering you pass through. So in that whole process, at the end of the day, like you are making your own conclusions of life, own decisions of life, that this is what I want. Forget it, this was wrong, or this was wrong, that was wrong, but this is what, this I want. Correct? And once that it gets determined, destiny changes. So it is like, for example, whatever Lord Krishna, we'll just give, take his example because it's a very striking example. out of his destiny, he ended up committing certain mistakes for which he had a punishment of going into hell. But he has also earned divinity by which, after the passing through of the punishment, he is going to become an absolute.
Mm-hmm.
Correct?
Yeah.
So as a part of his destiny, he'll be going. This destiny is not something fixed and formed. No, it is because someone who is not self-realized, he is using the power of his determination and projection his own way.
Mm-hmm.
But once you come across an enlightened soul, your direction totally changes in the direction of liberation only.
Right.
But whatever was committed before meeting the enlightened person, that is compulsory. So it's like
Right.
you already built your destiny before meeting the enlightened person, but after meeting the enlightened person, your direction was changed. But that portion is something like an enlightened person also cannot touch, because you have decided for yourself
Mm-hmm.
that strong-hearted decision.
So, for example,
Ego is that bad, and
okay.
ego is that good also. If
So
you
for
jump to the negative
example,
side, then it creates a bad destiny. On the positive side, it takes you, you're saying something.
Yeah. So for example, today I have the right understanding that I do not want to hurt any living being through my mind, speech, and body. So if I make a very firm determination of that, even if in my destiny I'm supposed to hurt someone, will that change is my question.
No. It may happen. It may happen. I'm saying it may happen. But what after that? Like Arjun, you know Arjun of Mahabharata?
Yeah.
In his destiny, he was a Kshatriya, he was a warrior. And due to that, so many people got killed in that war by him.
Yeah.
But that happened to be his last life also, due to which he had the self-realization. And with that whole process of self-cleansing, what he got after self-realization, he got away with all those things and he got liberated.
Right.
There are two things we have to understand. What we physically do and what we project.
Yeah.
What we do is out of destiny. Being a warrior, he's going to end up in a fight and wars and all like that, because that is his duty as a statesman, as a warrior. So while accomplishing his duty, but he got that realization also. And with that realization, he cleared all those mistakes committed in that war and he got liberated.
Right.
Normally, that doesn't happen. In the sense, in the last life, your life is not such violent. You don't have such violence in your life. But it was an exception. Exceptions are always there. But what is important, once self-realize, whatever is your karmic stock, they get eliminated few lives. Because that was a good time, in that same life, he could get away with it.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
Okay? Okay, our time is up now. So, Deepakanandji, can you please do your mantra and please follow?
Yeah. Namo Vitragai.
Namo Vitragai.
Namo Arihantanam.
Namo Arihantanam.
Namo Siddhanam.
Namo Siddhanam.
Namo Ayariyanam.
Namo Ayariyanam.
Namo Vajjayanam.
Namo Vajjayanam.
Namo Loe Sava Sahunam.
Namo loe savva sahunam.
Eso panchanamukaro
Eso panchanamukaro.
Savvapavappanasano
Savvapavappanashano.
Mangalanam cha Savvesim
Mangalanam cha sarvesim.
Paramam Havai Mangalam.
Padamam havai mangalam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Vasudevaya.
Om Namah Shivaya.
Om Namah
Om Namah
Shivaya.
Shivaya.
Jai Satchidananda.